What is up, people, and welcome to the #1 channel in East and Central Africa that brings you great and epic motorcycle content that many have come to love. Now do consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so that you're updated whenever we post a new episode. Now today we do have the Keeway Klight 200 in this, let me just cue the intro. Now this is the first impression ride of the Keeway Klight 200 from Captain Motors. You can actually get this bike at Captain Motors dealership located off Thika Road at Kahawa Wendani. Now let's get into the review of the bike. The bike is powered by a 187cc single-cylinder carbureted 4-stroke air-cooled engine, 2-valve engine for that matter, that produces 12 horsepower or 9.6 kilowatts at 7,500 rpm and a maximum torque of 13.9 newton meters at 6,000 rpm. Now the bike also comes with a Moses type chassis with 120mm telescopic front shocks and telescopic coil spring oil lubricated rear twin suspension. The brakes are a 240mm front discs and a 280mm rear drum brake. Now the stock tires are 190/17 and a 130/90 at the rear. The dry weight of the bike is about 147 kilograms, which is quite decent for the bike of its class. Now the dash is fully digital with the classic cafe racer, kind of resembles the Zonte's 250V. It also displays all the necessary information you need to know: check light, indicator light, full beam light, rev range, and also the speed that you're actually going with. Now the bike is a mini cruiser, a perfect town commuter, and also an occasional tourer. This is a bike that is suited for small and short people due to its low ground clearance of about 150mm. Engine of the bike produces a bit, it's slightly underpowered but produces decent power. I mean, while cruisers are meant to be very fast machines for the most part. Now the interesting thing about this bike was the handlebar configuration. The tactile feel and the plentifulness of the buttons made this bike more appealing and also look quite more expensive than it actually is. Not to mention that the kind of looks that the bike has. If I had a girlfriend and she wanted to get into biking, I think this is the bike that would actually get her if she was into cruisers and also happened to be a bit shorter than me. The ergonomics of the bike are the most comfortable. I mean, that's what cruisers are actually made for. The pegs are actually at the front, so does the gear levers and the brake levers are also actually at the front. The handling of the bike needs a little getting used to, especially if you're coming from a bike that is actually like the normal kind of styling of the bike, whereby the rider triangle is quite linear. Nonetheless, the bike was quite comfortable, especially on the highway, and I could pretty much do highway speeds of about 80 kilometers per hour plus. Not to mention, I didn't get to know the actual top speed. I mean, because it was a new bike straight from the dealership, and the thing is, new bikes, if you can't really actually push them all the way hard unless you actually break them in correctly. Now here's what I did enjoy about the bike. First of all, its looks. It reminded me of the 50s and 60s style of bikes with a sleek design. Also the color scheme was quite something that was actually kind of a plus for me. Now this is the kind of a bike that you do appear with a suit and dark gloves and maroon boots, which can actually match the bike. Now the next reason was the tactile feel of the buttons, which was quite nice to push, and the feedback was actually quite satisfying. The comfort was definitely a plus, and also the stretching of the legs out felt quite nice with the wind blowing directly on my knees, which was actually quite a nice change of pace. Now the things which I didn't like the bike, well, first of all, was the fact that the indicator switches were actually separate, meaning if you wanted to toggle to the left indicator was actually on the left and the right indicator was actually on the right. Now I do know they do borrow this from some of the BMW bikes, especially the old BMW bikes. They usually have this type of configuration. I mean, it's a bit confusing at first, but once you get used to it, it's quite nice. Now the fact that the bike felt a bit small and a bit cramped, basically this wasn't the bike's fault, but actually my fault, because I'm quite tall. I'm about 5'8", and this bike, when I rode it, it felt quite squeezed, as you can see in the videos. It looks like I'm riding a tricycle on the highway, but I mean, that's not the bike's fault, and that's why I was saying this bike is especially suited more for short riders and shorter people. The bike could also have needed a little bit of more oomph, since it felt quite very underpowered. I mean, if you're just starting out, this bike would feel quite powerful. I mean, it does have enough power to actually get you on highway, very well maintained, very good speed, but when it comes to that power, that excitement, it really does lack that character to it. The other thing about this bike is that if well under maintained, if you do not maintain it well, this bike beats very yani inachapa tu haraka sana. I mean, I've seen a lot of Keeways I've seen a few Keeways, not a lot. I've seen a few Keeways which have very low mileage, from 8,000 going a bit all the way up to 10,000, but the way that this bike looks, you can actually think that this bike has been through World War I or even World War II, because of how bad the bike looks. So if you really plan on having this bike, do make sure that you do take care of it, especially well. Now the good thing about this is that you can actually get the parts from Captain. I do believe they do have them, so in case you get fairing, you can scratch them up. You can always get them at Captain Motors. Now, like I said, this bike is a perfect entry into the world of cruisers, and also a perfect bike for a beginner, and also a perfect bike, even more so, the more emphasis is that it's the best bike suited for short people. You can actually liken this bike to the likes of the Renegade. There's also you can liken this bike to the Renegade, which I haven't quite tested as of yet. It is another very good, interesting bike, which are actually quite a bit rare to find or to see. There aren't a lot of people who actually ride this bike. So if you do have a Renegade, please hit me up. I'd like to review the bike. I'd like to ride it around. Another bike that this bike could be a direct competitor to is the Cougar, the Everlast Cougar. They are kind of similar in the same category, CC bike, cruiser type of bikes. I'm having a cruiser. No, I'm not having a cruiser. I'm having the Cougar bike review coming in soon, so stay tuned for that. It's also perfect beginner bike, a city commuter. I would actually go buy this bike to actually do some errands with it. It just seems to be very economical, especially on fuel. I don't think it consumes that much. I would actually, if it has a 50 kilometers per liter mileage, I mean, what more, especially now that the fuel prices are going all the way to 134 Kenya shillings per liter. I think we are going to have to park our bikes for a little while, because it's gonna get rough. But anyway, I really do hope you like this review. You can actually check if you have any more questions about this bike, let me know in the comment sections below. I did put up a small trailer on my social media. I didn't get a lot of questions from you guys. Anyway, if you do have any questions, if you do have any comments or suggestions, please place them down in the comment section below. Follow us on our social media at Rico the Gearhead on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. And thank you so much for watching once again. Stay safe, ride safe, and I will see you in the next one.